You're broken. That's what you are. Broken and useless. Those were the last words Marianne's husband spoke before he threw her suitcase onto the snow-covered sidewalk. She stood at the bus stop now, 3 hours later, still hearing his voice echo through her skull like shattered glass. The winter wind cut through her thin coat as she clutched her worn leather bag, the only piece of her former life she'd managed to save. At 27, she believed she had everything: a home, a marriage, a future, until the doctor's diagnosis 6 months ago made her husband see her differently. Infertile. The word had become her identity, her sentence, her erasure. The bus shelter offered little warmth. Marianne watched her breath form clouds in the frigid air, her fingers numb around the bag's handles. She had nowhere to go. Her parents had passed away years ago. Her friends had slowly disappeared after her marriage, isolated by a husband who preferred control over connection. She had $247 in her bank account and a phone with 12% battery left. Across the street, a black SUV pulled into a parking space. A man in an expensive coat stepped out, followed by 3 small figures bundling out behind him, 2 boys and a girl, all under 6, she guessed. The oldest boy, maybe 5, immediately started a snowball fight with his younger brother, while their father tried to wrangle the little girl who kept slipping on the ice. "Camden, watch your sister," the man called, his voice carrying both authority and exhaustion. "Fletcher, that's enough snow down your brother's coat." The little girl, pink-cheeked and giggly, broke free and ran directly toward Marianne's bus shelter. She stopped just short, staring up with enormous hazel eyes beneath a red knit cap. "Are you cold?" the child asked, with the blunt honesty only toddlers possess. Marianne tried to smile, but her face felt frozen. "A little bit, sweetheart. Daddy says when people are cold, we should help them get warm." The girl reached up and tried to pull off her own scarf, tiny fingers fumbling with the knot. "Sloan, come back here!" The man approached, apologetic. "I'm sorry, she's—" He stopped, mid-sentence, really looking at Marianne for the first time. Something shifted in his expression. Recognition? No. Something deeper. Understanding, perhaps. The kind that comes from knowing what rock bottom looks like. "Are you all right?" he asked quietly, crouching to Marianne's eye level, despite his tailored wool coat touching the dirty snow. The kindness in his voice broke something inside her. Tears she'd been holding back for hours finally spilled over. I'm fine, just waiting for the bus." "The last bus stopped running an hour ago," he said gently. "Snow rerouted everything." He paused, studying her face, the single bag, the way she held herself like someone trying not to shatter. "My name is Thaddeus. These are my kids, Camden, Fletcher, and this little escape artist is Sloan." He stood slowly. "I don't know your story, and you don't have to tell me, but I know the look of someone who needs help. We're about to get dinner. Would you come with us?" Marianne shook her head quickly. "I couldn't. I don't want to be a burden." "My wife used to say that. Used to say she didn't want to be a burden. Even at the end, when the cancer was taking everything, she'd apologize for needing help." He glanced at his children, all 3 now quietly watching their father with the intuitive gravity children develop when they've experienced loss. "She taught me that asking for help isn't weakness, it's trust. So I'm asking you to trust me, just for tonight. Come with us." Something in Marianne's chest, something that had been clenched tight since that morning, loosened slightly. She looked at this stranger and his 3 children standing in the snow, offering her something she hadn't felt in months. Worth. "Okay," she whispered. "Just for tonight." Dinner was at a small Italian restaurant where the owner greeted Thaddeus by name. The children were rambunctious but well-mannered, and Sloan insisted on sitting next to Marianne, patting her hand periodically as if checking she was still there. "Our mommy went to heaven," Sloan announced, matter-of-factly over breadsticks. "But Daddy says she still loves us from up there." "Sloan!" Thaddeus started, embarrassed. "It's okay," Marianne said softly, squeezing the little girl's hand. "I bet your mommy was very special." "She was," Camden said, the oldest, seriously. "She made the best pancakes. Dad tries, but they're always burnt." "Hey now," Thaddeus protested with mock offense, and for a moment the table filled with laughter, normal, warm human laughter. Marianne felt herself thawing, not just from the cold, but from months of emotional frost. Over pasta, Thaddeus shared his story carefully, mindfully, as the children colored on their placemats. His wife Rebecca had died 18 months ago. She'd been diagnosed when Sloane was just 1. They'd had 2 years of treatments, hope, devastation, and ultimately goodbye. He'd thrown himself into being both parents, into running his commercial real estate company from home as much as possible, into keeping Rebecca's memory alive for 3 children who were forgetting her voice. "The hardest part," he said quietly, watching his sons argue over crayons, "is knowing they'll grow up with this hole in their lives. And sometimes I wonder if I'm enough to fill even half of it." "You're here. You show up every day. That's not half. That's everything." Their eyes met across the table, and something unspoken passed between them. Recognition of shared pain, different sources but equal weight. Later, at Thaddeus's home, a warm, lived-in house filled with children's artwork and family photos, Marianne stood in the guest room he'd quietly offered. "Just until you figure out your next step. No pressure, no expectations." She sat on the bed, overwhelmed. That morning she'd been discarded like trash. Tonight, she was a guest in a stranger's home, treated with more dignity than her own husband had shown her in years. A soft knock interrupted her thoughts. Camden stood in the doorway, clutching a worn stuffed elephant. "This was Mom's," he said, walking over with the solemn importance of a child bearing treasure. "Dad gave it to me when she went away, but I think maybe you need it more right now."
Marianne's throat closed. "I can't take this." "Mom would want someone to have it who's sad," Camden said with heartbreaking wisdom. "You're sad, I can tell." She accepted the elephant with trembling hands, and Camden nodded with satisfaction before leaving. Alone again, Marianne held the soft toy and wept, but this time not from despair, from the shocking, overwhelming beauty of unexpected kindness. Days became weeks. Marianne found work at a bookstore, began seeing a therapist Thaddeus's health insurance coordinator helped her find. She started healing, not just from her marriage's end, but from years of being told her worth was tied to biological function. She played with the children, helped with homework, learned to make pancakes that weren't burnt. The house felt less like a way station and more like home. Then, 2 months in, her ex-husband appeared at the bookstore. "I made a mistake," he said, flowers in hand, rehearsed apology on his lips. "I was angry. We can adopt. We can figure this out. Come home, Marianne." She looked at him, really looked at him, and saw not the man she'd loved, but the one who'd reduced her to her reproductive organs, who'd thrown her away when she didn't meet specifications. "No," she said simply, "I am home." That evening, she found Thaddeus in the kitchen after the children were asleep. He was reviewing contracts, glasses perched on his nose, looking tired but content. "He came to see me today, my ex-husband." And I realized something." She sat across from him. "You've shown me more respect, more kindness, more genuine care in 2 months than he did in 3 years of marriage. Not because you wanted something from me, but because you see people as people, not as what they can provide you." "You deserve that," Thaddeus said quietly. "Everyone does, especially someone who spent 2 months proving she's not broken, just surviving something that would have destroyed most people." "Your children saved me," Marianne whispered. "That day at the bus stop, Sloane asking if I was cold, you asking me to come with you. You all reminded me that kindness still exists, that people can see you when you're invisible. Thaddeus reached across the table, his hand covering hers. You know what Rebecca told me right before she died, he said, watching Mary Ann wipe frosting from Sloane's nose. She said, "Don't stay frozen, Thad. Let someone in who needs you as much as you need them." I didn't understand then, but I do now. Mary Ann's eyes filled with tears. I was thrown away because I couldn't give life. But you and these children, you gave mine back. Camden wandered in, now 6 and full of thoughtful observations. Are you going to stay forever, Mary Ann? She looked at Thaddeus, then at each of the children, these unexpected saviors who'd asked a freezing stranger to come with them and meant it. Forever sounds about right, if that's okay with everyone. More than okay, Thaddeus said, his voice thick with emotion. More than okay. That night, as snow began falling again outside, gentler this time, like a benediction, Mary Ann stood at the window remembering the woman at the bus stop, broken, alone, certain her life was ending. She'd learned something profound in these months. Worthiness isn't something you earn or lose based on what your body can do. It's inherent. And sometimes, when the world tells you you're disposable, a stranger and 3 children will appear in the snow to prove the world wrong. The greatest kindness we can offer isn't fixing someone's brokenness. It's seeing their wholeness when they've forgotten it exists. Family isn't always blood. Sometimes it's 3 children at a bus stop and a grieving father who asks the most important question anyone can ask. Come with me.